Hello, and welcome to the Mindful Coping podcast, Amplifying Voices, where I feature various voices in the mental health community to create safe spaces of dialogue and growth. I'm Rhys, a 16-year-old teenager from Southern California, diagnosed with Tourette syndrome and obsessive compulsive disorder. And I founded Mindful Coping, a platform dedicated to providing free and accessible resources for teens with mental illness. You can check out my content on my Instagram at Mindful Coping and my website, mindfulcoping.net. I'm so thankful to be joined here today with Avery from Ritualistic, dedicated to using social media to raise awareness of Tourette's and tics through memes. Without further ado, Avery, introduce yourself.
Hi guys, my name is Avery. I'm 16 years old and I have Tourette syndrome as well as co-occurring disorders. I use my platform at Ritualistic to kind of spread awareness about Tourette syndrome and mental health and bring people with this disorder together and create a safe space for them. I'm a youth ambassador for the Tourette Association of America, and my whole kind of just my entire being is just about spreading awareness about Tourette syndrome and advocating for others who can't.
Great. That's incredible. And I definitely agree with you that, spreading awareness, especially in a time where we're so interconnected through social media, is impactful and important. So thank you for doing that. My second question is, how have you personally been managing your mental health during this quarantine?
So, mainly, I have been going to a lot of therapy. I've tried different therapies. I've tried CBIT and I've tried hypnotherapy and regular therapy. I still go to a regular therapist and I have a hypnotherapist. And that's been helping me a lot, really. Uh, they've taught me a lot of coping skills and a lot of ways to manage my Tourette's by myself and without medication. And they've taught me a lot of great communication skills so I can communicate with my family and other people about how I feel. And that's honestly really helped me in the long run, being able to kind of communicate with people and speak my mind. Um, I've also been working on behavioral skills as I have anger issues and I'm kind of waning off my meds, but I have been trying with my therapists to work on managing my behavior and my tics kind of by myself because I'm going to be going out on my own soon. So I need to be able to be independent. But I've just remembered that tics wax and wane all the time, and they may be waxing right now, but they'll be waning soon. And it'll all just get better once all of this pandemic stuff is over.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with every word you just said. I as well have been to cognitive behavioral therapy, and it really, really helped me develop sustainable methods to deal with tics by myself. And, it was sort of daunting for me to think, oh my God, I'm only going to be seeing this therapist for like half a year. And then after that, I'm sort of on my own. But it's super important to, get that help because they teach you strategies that you can continue using and growing upon over
Yeah.
and over time to make that better. And I also wanted to, reinforce that point you made about communication and
Mhm.
how a lot of therapy really equips you with powerful and useful skills to be able to voice your concerns. And like you said, tics wax and wane. And I've received so many questions about why it's bad this day and then why it's okay the next day. And really, teaching you how to not only understand yourself, but be able to communicate that is something that I've really, really been benefited off of through therapy. So I really like that point. And I think that, to all the viewers and listeners who are out there, it's super duper important to be keeping that in mind, right? Not
Yes.
only getting an accurate diagnosis, but knowing how to act off of that and how to use therapy to your advantage. And these days, there's things like telemedicine that can help us do that. So I really, really like that.
Yeah.
My next question is, do you have any specific tips that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I have a few. So my first tip is to not hide your disorder from anybody. I get that if you're in a dangerous situation where maybe you don't feel comfortable sharing your tics for safety reasons, but if you're with your family members and friends, don't hide your tics. It'll make it a lot easier in the long run. And the more they are around you while you're ticking, the more comfortable all of you will get. It takes some time, but it really benefits you to just let them know like right away what's going on, and just to not hide yourself from the people that are close to you. My second tip is let people know what triggers you slash bothers you. I know I used to let people kind of trigger me with my tics because I didn't know how to tell them to stop and that it bothered me. But after therapy, I've learned a lot of skills that can help me speak my voice and let people know that what they're doing is bothering me and triggering my tics. And that's helped me a lot. And it's helped other people understand that Tourette's has a lot of triggers and that it's very sensitive and that people it can be triggered by really anything. And that's also really helpful for other people so that they can learn that other people with Tourette syndrome might have those triggers as well. My third tip is to be upfront if you decide if a tic is funny or not and if people can laugh. So you decide what tics are funny or not. I know I have some pretty funny tics, and my family, they used to laugh at them, and then they would always ask me if it was okay for them to laugh. And it really depends if I find a tic to be kind of not funny, like if it's a really offensive tic, but some people might find it funny and they laugh. Don't be afraid to tell them not to laugh because your comfort is the only thing that matters. All right. You don't have to worry about the comfort of others because if they feel uncomfortable, then they can leave. You cannot help what you're going through right now. So your comfort is the only thing that matters to you. You can't help what you're going through, and they can help whether the way they react to things. All right. And then my last tip is to not be afraid to advocate. I know it can be very scary, advocating for yourself and kind of standing up for yourself. And standing up for yourself isn't the half of it. Teaching people about Tourette syndrome is very beneficial to you and other people with Tourette syndrome. It can help them if they encounter anyone else with Tourette syndrome or something like that. It can help them know better how to interact with those people and how to help them. So advocating is super important, not just for you, but for the entire Tourette syndrome community. And that's why I'm a youth ambassador for the Tourette Association of America. That their whole entire thing is teaching youth with Tourette syndrome how to advocate to people, mostly adults who have a lot of power or who deal with people every day, like people in the workplaces or police or firefighters or airport staff, anything. So advocacy is super, super important. And if you're not comfortable, that's fine, but just keep that in mind that it benefits
Yeah.
everyone.
Of course, I just really like your point that you should be upfront and the argument that, you are the one who gets to decide uh, how you feel in a space. And I've had my, fair share of people reacting negatively to my tics that have made me feel uncomfortable and isolated. And it was only really when I was upfront with them, my closest friends, that I realized that not only do I make these decisions in my social spheres, but also that people are a lot more willing than I thought. I was
Yeah.
sort of worried that they'd turn against me or say, wow, how could you? Or like, why are you being so sensitive? But in reality, more people than not, especially your closest friends or family, care about you and are willing to listen to your struggles, but are just ignorant and unaware. So it's really, that
Yes,
communication aspect comes back super strong. My
that
next
is so
question
true.
is, yeah, for sure. What specific areas of mental health interest or concern you the most?
That's a tough question because
Hmm.
there's a lot of problems within our community, mostly how other people react. I think my biggest concern is that people with these disorders aren't getting the education that they need because we've always known that schools are catered towards students who don't have anything going
Hmm.
on with
Hmm.
them, can do their work, get them done on time. They praise students who can work 24/7 without taking any breaks, and they punish students who have things going on that they can't help, even if because they usually don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But really what I'm kind of working towards is making sure that people in education systems know that people with disorders like this need to be treated differently. It's special needs. We need special attention, and we need special, like, we need not barriers, I guess. I'm saying stepping stones, kind of. We're different, and I'm not meaning that in a bad way at all, but people are different, and we have something that is most people don't have, and we need special accommodations for that. And a lot of schools don't understand that, and I'm talking about a lot of public schools. I've been transferred from a public high school when I got diagnosed, um, and I can tell you, a lot of the teachers were the worst. The students were fine, but the teachers, they didn't understand, and they didn't
Mm-hmm.
treat me how I needed to be treated in that moment. They just
Yeah.
don't know what to give me, and they can't nurture me the way I need to be nurtured, you know, and they can't give me
Mm-hmm.
that school setting that's really important for someone with a
Of
disorder like this.
course. Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that education is such an important aspect. And, especially in our modern curriculum, I think when we're living in a society where at least 1 out of 5 individuals will have a mental illness. I think it's just absurd that we don't have mental health education in public schools, mental illness training and awareness among teachers, right? And
Mm-hmm.
only even I took a class on psychology last year and we spent like a week on mental illnesses, which I thought was egregiously low. And I think it's really, really important that we should be raising awareness of mental illness, not only raising awareness, but teaching people how to be accepting and accommodating and understanding how to deal with various situations that come up. And I also agree with your first point that there's a lot of problems with how people react, and especially I'm seeing so much hostility on new Instagram and like TikTok platforms, especially against people with mental illness or disabilities. And I'm just shocked to see how this sort of behavior is still socially acceptable. And I think a lot of that stems from the stigma that remains in public education and, the fear that students with mental illness have for reaching
Yeah.
out to their friends, their teachers. And I think that the existence of that barrier is like super demonstrative of our society that needs, a lot of forward movement. And I'm glad that we're sort of starting to erase that stigma. Things like Instagram can be helpful, and we're moving towards huge strides, but there's still, like you said, a lot to be achieved.
Yes, of course.
Mhm. My next question is a little more personal. What has your journey of mental health awareness and wellness been?
All right. So I got diagnosed a few years ago. I've always had tics since I was a little kid. I didn't think anything of them. I got diagnosed with a tic disorder, but it started kind of going off when my brother left for the Navy. I started having this head tic in school. I didn't know what was going on, so we went to a neurologist, and I got diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. Um, since then, the problem hasn't really been with Tourette syndrome as it has been with what surrounds Tourette syndrome, you know, like how people reacted, how I thought that it made others feel. I thought it made others, my family, super uncomfortable, so I would keep my tics hidden for their comfort, and I would risk my own discomfort and my own being just so I could make them comfortable. And I realized that that was not the right way to go, because that caused a lot of pain, mental and physical pain for me. It put me in a really low place. My depression came back for a while, and I just I didn't really know who to go to. But after I finally decided to go to therapy and try and figure this whole stuff out, um, I realized that my family loves me no matter what, and I'm their kid. And no matter what's going on with me, they're going to go through it with me because that's what families do. My family has been a huge, huge help in my mental health journey. So, my family is kind of what I think about when I'm going through any rough times because I know that they've been there with me through all of my ups and downs. They know what I'm going through. They've experienced it as I was going through it, and they're probably going through it as well or something similar. And we're probably all hurting the same. But if we come together, we can all be feeling this safeness, you know? When you're with your family, it's a different type of comfort, you know? So my family has been a huge, huge help. And I think this whole entire situation, me getting diagnosed with Tourette's, has brought us closer together, actually. We have really great communication skills now. And now we can kind of talk about anything. And I feel so comfortable taking in front of them. And now I feel comfortable taking in public in front of my friends as well, which has really, really helped me.
I completely agree, and we actually have very similar stories. When I was, young, like 5, 6, I started to start with, the blinking tics, like nose
Mhm.
scrunching,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then and yeah, and then in middle school, my neck and head tics actually got really severe, and I tried to go to like chiropractors, get massages, and it was just I think something about those head and neck tics are so physically painful and
Yeah.
taxing and really, make your muscles sore. And my
Mhm.
mom and my dad, my parents were such amazing support systems for me. And my dad would, schedule all of my appointments. My mom would stay with me and like rub my neck. So I'm so, so thankful. And, but that, that wasn't instant, and it took time for me to become more comfortable over time. And I'm just starting to be willing to be vulnerable around my friends. And that's, something that I'm working on. But I think that I really wanted to reiterate that part, that it's super important to be comfortable around your support system and be
Yes.
who you are. Otherwise, they're not really a support system. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I completely agree with you. My next question is, what was the inciting incident in your life that made you start wanting to promote mental health?
Hmm. There have been a lot of moments. I've just thought, what would if I was someone who wasn't where I was today, someone who I was like when I first got diagnosed, if I didn't feel comfortable with myself yet, if I didn't know what was going on, if I didn't have such a great support system, what would I want to see? And I would want to see someone who is living their life without any worries and who doesn't care about their Tourette syndrome, who can promote it and advocate for others who can't. That's what I want. That's what I would want to see if I wasn't me, you know? So I kind of just, my neurologist was actually the first person who brought up the Tourette Association of America. He encouraged me to become a youth ambassador because he thought that I would be a good public speaker. And I denied it at first. I was not too fond of the idea of public speaking. So I said no. But after thinking about it for a while and realizing what good this can do, I realized I should just kind of put my fears aside and do what's great for the greater good, you know? And I went through the training, and as I was doing that, I realized that this is really what I was meant to do. That I was meant to stand up for others who don't have such a big voice as me, and stand up to people who don't understand and teach people so that the world can become more understanding of this disorder that's not very well known and super misunderstood. And then for my Tourette Instagram account, I really, I don't know. I saw some photos, and I was like, "Oh, those kind of look like me ticking. That would be funny if that was a meme." And so I made some memes, and I just kept making them, and I was like, "Huh, I feel like other people might enjoy these too." So, and I saw some other Tourette meme accounts, so thought, why not make one myself? So I made one, and I started getting followers and likes really fast, and it was really, really cool because people were commenting and DMing me, telling me that their memes gave them hope and that they were happy that there was a safe place to come to talk about your ticks, and that they were so excited to see someone who was like them. And that just really made me so happy. And that's basically why I'm doing this, is because it just brings me so much joy.
Wow, that's incredible. I really love to hear how you've channeled your experience into something incredibly positive. And, that's a huge honor to be a youth ambassador for the nationally recognized association. And you're doing incredible work. I just wanted to commend you, especially in the Instagram. It's such, a creative component of mental illness. And I think people overlook humor as a
Mm,
coping mechanism. And I think that it's something incredibly valuable and interesting and nuanced because, humor is a very high form of expression. So I wanted to commend you for doing all of that.
thank you.
My next question is, are there any specific tics that you've struggled with particularly, or how have you coped with them?
Yes, I have
Mm-hmm.
struggled with lots of tics.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that I'm more wary about are ever since this BLM movement has been going on.
Mm-hmm.
I started up with a racial slur tic, and I that one really devastated
Mm-hmm.
me that I had a tic
Yeah.
like that, because that's not who I am at all. And I know tics don't represent your being or who you are as a person, but it just made me feel gross that I was saying words like that and that I couldn't help it. But what I personally, I refuse to say them even as a tic. By myself, if it got too much, I would let it out. But personally, I didn't feel comfortable saying that word even as a tic, so I just kept them inside. And what I did was I kind of took the CBIT technique and I turned it into a different word, kind of. I would say the first two letters and then say the last letters of a different word. So I would kind of make a different word, but that sounded kind of similar, And it helped. It wasn't the same. It never really is the same, but it helped and it got me through that tic. Um, it comes up every once in a while, but I just ignore it, which is difficult, but I usually just do go through with my other tics that kind of take my mind off of it. I also had a tic where I said Hitler puppies. A lot of my friends thought it was kind of funny, and I thought it was kind of funny too, but I would say the Hitler part really loud, and I did it in school a lot, so that was kind of embarrassing. But I laughed about it. I can laugh about it, so that's all good.
Mhm.
Uh, oh yeah, I've been struggling with a choking tic for a little while, which is okay, but I'm getting through it.
Mhm.
But that one's a little bit scary.
Yeah. Wow. I want to thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing those experiences. And I'm sure that your story will help so many individuals out there who are sharing similar experiences. Um, my vocal tics have not been an area for concern for me, but
Mhm.
I participate in speech and debate, and there are
Oh,
times during the year where um, I stutter or repeat the same consonants of words. That becomes difficult because, debate is a communication activity. So it becomes difficult for me to convey my thoughts clearly. And that really, was a huge insecurity of mine because I was sort of known as a kid at school, who did debate on the weekends. But what does it mean if I can't, articulate a sentence without stuttering or repeating a consonant 7 times, right?
yeah.
So yeah, and I think I'd say in my life, the biggest tick that I've struggled with is probably my neck jerking tick. And I would, violently jerk my neck to the side and sort of crack my bones. I could hear it inside of my,
Oh.
my brain. And it's very painful. And I've learned to deal with it using, behavioral therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy techniques. But I still deal with it these days. And it's had a little bit of a spike in the last couple of weeks. And, I've been practicing those strategies, but I think that I sort of forget after I get over a tick, I forget what it really feels like until it comes back. So it's
Yeah.
always a little bit daunting when you see that come back again. And it's easy to lose hope, but
Yeah.
just taking that time to take a deep breath. Okay, I've learned strategies to deal with it. I know how I've dealt with it before, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm only going to do my best, and that's all I can expect because these strategies are incredibly helpful, but they're not preventative. They're only remedial. So it's not. going to just make it disappear instantaneously.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for sharing those with me. I'm very inspired by your perseverance.
Of course.
My next question is, what steps are you taking to put yourself on the path to mental wellness?
So I'm a spiritual person, so meditation has really helped me, and just kind of sitting with my own thoughts. Really, I just make sure that when I can feel myself getting into that place where I know I'm going to be in a depressive state and I'm going to want to be by myself, I make sure that I stay around others. My family, they help me a lot when that happens, because I know when I start getting into a sad episode, uh, I just want to be alone and I want to isolate myself and I don't want to talk to anybody. But really trying to force myself to get out of that and force myself to be with other people has really helped me, because your brain is lying to you when it's telling you that it'll never get better.
Yes.
It'll always be like this. You're different. Nobody will ever accept you. I've had a lot of those thoughts. But I realized that they're lying to you. That's your brain trying to get to you, and it's trying to take over you. And if you just say, like, I just think my brain or my depressive thoughts don't control me. I control me, and I control whether I'm going to let those influence and impact how I feel for the day or maybe even the week. Because I know that depressive episodes can last.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that, depressive episodes and that sort of issue with being able to cope with the reality of your illness and understanding that there is a social stigma and there are people out there who will be negative, mean, and disparage you is a definite problem that we deal with. But, like you said, using spiritual meditation or being
Mhm.
able to look back into yourself and really refocus your path, because my therapist used this analogy of you going down a river, right? And then each of those negative influences or, people who make comments or people who discourage you are rapids that are trying to take you off of your course. But
Mhm.
it's important to keep rowing, be steady, and picture yourself just going down that river and reaching your destination. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
My next question is sort of about the outreach. What tick disorder resources, especially free and accessible ones, would you share with our audience and our readers today?
The Tourette Association of America, they have
Hmm.
so many great resources. They have resources for parents who have children going through what we're going through, who don't know what to do. They have resources for kids like us. They have resources for really anyone. They have videos, informational videos. They have tips. If you just go to Tourette.org, they can really help you a lot. That's the organization that the Youth Ambassador program is through, and they're actually accepting applications for youth ambassadors right now. So if you've ever wanted to advocate professionally and be able to
Wow.
make a difference, that
Hmm.
would be a really great path to go down.
Oh, wow. I will definitely check that out and I'll put that in the link when I update this podcast. But that's such an amazing resource and that'll definitely be on the top of my to do list. So I'll put all of those links and those resources down below. And I think, you know, it's amazing how we're able to use the internet for good things because,
Yes,
we
yes.
only think about the negativity, like
Mhm.
tracking and people hacking your accounts, but there are so many positive outcomes of it as well, such
Yeah,
as, mental health awareness.
yeah.
My next question is lighthearted. Would you tell us 3 fun facts about yourself?
Yes. So, first fact, I'm a Girl Scout. I've been a Girl Scout since I was in kindergarten. That's also taught me a lot of skills that can help with my Tourette's. It's taught me a lot of community service skills, which has helped with the Youth Ambassador program. And I'm proud that I'm a Girl Scout, and that's something I'll probably always be proud of. I love art. That's my second fact. I like to put my emotions into my work a lot of the time, like how my Tourette syndrome makes me feel and how other disorders kind of make me feel. That's a really great escape for me. It helps me get out of any funk that I'm in, and it can help other people understand what I'm going through, because people can take art and interpret that any way they want and kind of you know compare that to or relate to that with what they're going through. And I think that's a beautiful thing about art. And my last fact is I'm a youth ambassador. That one you already know, but I just wanted to expand on that a little bit more. Youth ambassadors, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit more. Youth ambassador is someone who they got trained by the Tourette Association of America. We go to Washington, D.C. to talk to Senate and representatives about funding for the Tourette Association of America, because you know that there's not a lot known about Tourette's. We don't really know exactly what goes on in the brain, and what we do is we try and get funding for research. And we also go to schools and we present to workplaces, or over Zoom we present and we teach people about Tourette's and kind of what to expect and how people deal with it. And that's basically what we're all about. And it's a really, really great program to get into if you're into advocating.
Amazing. And I really like how you've channeled a lot of your experience into, political, social, legislative activism, which is such an important skill. And it can be hard, especially for people in vulnerable positions like you or myself. But really, how it takes that extra step of courage is super admirable. And I'm inspired by your work.
Thank you so much.
No worries. My next question is, what are 3 main takeaway points that you'd like to share with our audience?
So my first takeaway point is probably all right, let me think about this for a little bit. My first takeaway point is, okay, so this kind of can help with if you're ever worried about taking in public. What I think about is if you're taking in public, people probably won't notice you, because people are probably too cooped up in what they're doing, and they're probably too invested in what's going on in their life to pay attention to you. I know that I am usually too invested in what I'm doing at that moment to notice anybody else. So if you're ticking, people probably don't notice you. And even if they do, you're never going to see them again. So it doesn't matter what they think of you. It matters what you think of you. And that's really all that matters. And especially if they do see you. Usually, I've encountered this a lot. If people notice me, I look back at them and then they immediately look away, because they assume that something's going on with me that they don't want to get involved with, and they want to be respectful, so they just kind of avoid eye contact. And that's what I've encountered with most people who notice that I tick, especially strangers. But that I just think is kind of funny, because they don't want to get involved and they kind of get uncomfortable a little bit, but they usually just kind of ignore you. I've only had one person lash out at me for my tics, but that was because I was with a huge group of kids with Tourette's and we were all cussing up a storm. So that, I don't know, but we all stood up to him. And honestly, if you just have a group, a support system to help you out, you can help out yourself, but a support system is always great.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that point to our audience, how people who notice the tics are either, dealing with their own life and they don't have time to worry about some stranger, or if they are hostile, hopefully that won't be a common occurrence.
Yeah.
But we would aspire to, have the skills and confidence and courage to be able to call out that negative behavior. And I think that's something that we're moving towards as a society, calling out people for problematic behavior, working to improve and better our understanding and acceptance of others, especially people who aren't what are branded as normal according to our society. So I really love that point. My last question for you today is, what would you like to personally promote, and how can we find more information about you?
I would like to promote the Tourette Association of America. They're kind of
Mm-hmm.
what have really brought me to this point.
Mm-hmm.
It really inspired me to stand up for myself and other people who don't have a voice, and that is really all I can ever ask for. It's really brought me a lot of joy, and they have done such an exceptional job with making me feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable and accepted with myself. And the community that I've been introduced to is amazing. I've been introduced and I've made a lot of friends with Tourette syndrome who have similar stories as me, and we can bond over that. And it's amazing. I make lifelong friends. I can help people with disorders like mine, and I can teach people about Tourette syndrome who might not have known anything about it otherwise. And I think that's just so great. Um, and you can go to the I don't know if you can find information about me personally, but you can find information about the Youth Ambassadors of America on the Tourette.org website. And
Mm-hmm.
that can kind of teach you a bit more about it. And it's just a really great program that I would love to promote. And I would love to have them have more youth ambassadors. That would be great.
For sure. I will definitely put all of those links below and check that out myself. But I wanted to say thank you so much once again, Avery, for coming here today and sharing your amazing story so bravely and passionately, and explaining how you've used your experiences to create amazing change, not only through your Instagram account and through humor, but also with focused activism with your youth ambassadorship at the Tourette's Association of America. So thank you so much for coming and listening to this episode of Amplifying Voices on Mindful Coping. Thank you so much for coming, Avery.
Thank you for having me. This was such an honor.
Thank
It was so
you
great.
for sure.
Isn't it funny? We came to that. I thought I won you over, but you were holding back. Isn't it funny? You could not care less. How you took those words back, now I'm just a mess. I'm running away from escaping dreams of yesterday. Convincing me this cannot be. Trying to find another way. Yeah, I think my head always knew it, but I didn't tell my heart. Let go, I couldn't do it.